Hi, welcome back. So we're on to our second stage now of our soft pastels on top of watercolours. So the painting has dried now, the salt dried, and I flicked off the salt from my wetting wet, and these little marks here are where the salt is, which I think are really pretty, and I'm going to use those to build up the shapes of the little flowers on the hydrangea. Right, so I'm going to start off with putting on my soft pastels and we'll see where we go from there. So I've already got my soft pastels out ready, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use these, the centres, for the centres of the flowers. So if I start up here first, and hopefully you've all had a go at doing the different soft pastel techniques with the water. So all I'm doing is defining the petals, if you like, this week, just to pull the painting together. So I'm applying my soft pastels quite nice and light to begin with. So remember, you can mix the colours on the paper itself. I use my finger. Some people like to use a blending tool, or you can use a torchon or a cotton wool bud. Now I'm not going to put any water on at this stage, I just want to define the little petals. So if I wanted to, I can go over where the salt was on some places. And that's the beauty of the soft pastels, that you can do that. You can paint over what was underneath if you want to. I'm also thinking about the shading as well, so I'm going to put some blue on there just to shade that. So remember to spend more time looking at your photograph than at the painting. At this point in time, I don't know whether I'm going to do anything with the background, so I'm leaving that for now. I might just leave that as a watercolour wetting wet, and I'll see as I go along. So I'm just picking out all these beautiful colours. So if I wanted a lighter green, I can add the white on top. I'm just going to make that into a darker green round there. So what I suggest you do as well with your soft pastels is, once you've got the colours you want, don't put them back in the box. Keep them out so you know which colours you've used. Otherwise you'll forget. So you'll have more time than me to fill these in, whichever flavour you've decided to do. I like to use my finger. I think this is one of the few art materials that you can be involved with touching the material, moving it around. There's something quite nice about that. So to make a darker green, I'm just putting on a blue to pull that out there. I'm also thinking about the negative shapes. So we got the positive, which is the flowers. The negative shapes are the shapes around it. So this is a negative shape around the flower. So I'm painting this upright just for the purpose of the demonstration so that you can see, but you can have it flat as well. Okay. See, it's starting to take a life of its own now. When you start looking at something quite closely, you'll find so many different colours that you didn't think were there. So a common thing is when people do trees, they do a brown trunk. But if you have a good look at a tree trunk, it's all different colours. There's browns, greens. So paint what you see, not what you think you see, or what you think you know. So when I did this wet in wet technique, I was quite free with the paints. So I haven't done exactly the flowers that were in front of me. So I'm working with the shapes that the wet in wet and the salt resist technique has given me. Which may mean that I'm cutting out some petals, adding some petals. But the main thing to remember is you're in control. So that's where the salt bit was, round there. So if I just highlight that and bring it out a bit more. So now I'm going to go into the negative shape, which is underneath the petal. So if I do darker underneath light, it'll throw forward the light colour. And just put a bit more white on there, because it seems to have lost it somehow. So I'll just do a few more down here, then add some water for you. I'm also just going to put a bit of a stem on here, although it's not very clear in the photograph I'm working on. I just want to put it in just to explain. There, it's a flower and there's a stem there. It's quite dark under there as well. So if I add some darker colours and maybe a dark brown on top. Just thin that down a bit. And also my paper, it disappears, so you've just got a little bit. We just want a hint there. So like with my other videos, I don't just stick to one space that I'm doing. I like to move around my painting. A little bit of lilac colour there as well. So again, going into the negative to bring forward the flower and the shape of the petal. So can you see going darker behind there? I've brought that forward. Okay, so let's add some water to this. I'm not going to do too much more on the video because you'll be here forever and ever. So remember we said with the pastel, we can get a damp brush. So where have we gone? That's the trouble when you're doing flowers or leaves and trees. You start to lose which petal you were looking at. So you can start to do a bit more precision. I've just got a damp brush here, and if I go along that line I can blend it round. So now I'm just adding water straight onto the petal. So hopefully you can see it start to emerge. And that's where the salt was. I've just got some white off my pastel. Remember, once this dries you can go back over it again as well. The same up here. Just add a drop then on my brush. So just to pull that out at the top, and you can get those lovely fine lines coming down. The other thing you can do as well, which some people do, rather than getting your hands messy, you can put some tissue over your painting and work like that. So this is stage 2 of your painting. To build it up with the soft pastels, you can add water if you want to. And then next time we're just going to neaten it up.